Thanks for staying with us. I'm Bill O'Reilly in the Miller Time segment tonight. 3 hot topics. So let's get right to the sage of Southern California. Joins us now from Santa Barbara. All right, Miller, the Paris terror attack. And you say?
Well, to echo what Morgan Freeman said to himself in The Shawshank Redemption, it's time for the civilized world to get busy living or get busy dying, because we've got a problem on our hand here. And the problem usually lists its return address as the Islamic faith. Now, I'm not going to do that silly thing where I have to stop Don every time I talk about this and say not all 1.6 billion of them are nuts. But granted, I guess de Blasio can talk about New York City cops as their monolith. They could just say to his kid, don't trust the cops. But I got to stop Don every time. But a lot of this stuff goes back to that faith. And what I would do on a domestic level, I think first off, we got to start standing up here. If I was Brandeis University, I'd welcome that Ayaan Hirsi Ali back and apologize to her for canceling that speech.
Well, that's what it's all about, though, isn't it? I mean, France makes the tremendous mistake of opening its borders, and it's flooded with Muslims. As you said, most of them are all right. They're okay people. But there's a significant minority that wants to do damage, all right? And they're there. And now France has to deal with them. Every other country in Europe is being overrun by Muslims. Their fault. They let them in. You know why? Why did you let them in? For what reason? They wanted working papers. You give them working papers, but they don't have any right to French citizenship, just like anybody else abroad doesn't have any right to U.S. citizenship. It's a privilege. So they caused the problem. But now they're running around. They don't know how to solve the problem, Miller. They don't know how to solve it.
You first got to send a message, Billy. What I would do is, if I was France, I'd hold a state funeral for these people. And if I was Angela Merkel, Benjamin Netanyahu, and indeed Barack Obama, I would attend that funeral and walk in with Hollande in unison. And then afterwards, I'd have Netanyahu probably issue the statement because he's the least neurotic about it. I would do the same thing when Michael Corleone sent his henchmen over to Fredo at the wedding and said, listen, you got to get hold of your wife or I have to do it. I would issue that statement to whatever passes for moderate Islam in this world now. You better get hold of your problem or we're going to have to do it, and it's going to be a lot messier than if you do it.
But there isn't anybody to get hold of it. But we can isolate, as I said in the Talking Points memo, countries like Pakistan.
Well, we at least got to start calling a spade, Billy. There are none so blind as those who cannot hear gunfire ricocheting down a hallway.
And it could be anybody. All right, now, in New York City, I don't know whether you know this story or not. There was a lawyer who worked for Al Sharpton who was charged, I think it was rape. They dropped the charges. In the investigation, the cops, the New York City cops, found a prescription in the lawyer's house for Viagra. But guess whose name was on the prescription label? Al Sharpton. Al Sharpton's Viagra bottle was in this guy's house. So the cops who hate Sharpton leak it to the New York Daily News. Can you imagine?
Well, listen, many times on this show, I've called Sharpton a stick-up artist. That isn't what I meant. That is not what I meant, Billy. But I would say this. My problem with Sharpton isn't that he takes it. It's that he wants to sue Pfizer because they're little blue pills, and he thinks they should be little black pills. That's my problem with Sharpton at this point, all right? And by the way, anybody out there listening, if you are in the middle of a corporate shakedown that lasts more than 4 hours, contact a physician, and they'll tell you what to do.
There are side effects, too, to those shakedowns.
Yeah, there are dangerous side effects, Billy.
All right, Miller, what's your New Year's resolution for 15? You got one?
I thought we were going to talk about Boehner, for God's sake.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that. Thank you for reminding me. The darkest Caucasian I've ever seen, John Boehner. Did you see him yesterday? I'm going, what's going on?
Billy, I'm looking at your tie and seeing him. It's the same color as his face, for God's sake.
Look at him. Look at him. It's January.
Huh?
Look
Can I
at
tell you
him.
what can I tell you what he got for Christmas? Earl Scheib, $99.95. I looked it up in my 64 crayon box. That's right between number 20 burnt orange and number 21 burnt sienna. The only reason this guy's still around is because Barack Obama sneaks smokes off him, all right? And you know, you can always tell which one's carrying water for Obama when it's Boehner, because he's the one who wheezes all the time. Wake up, Boehner.
But do you think it's spray tan, or it's a tanning booth, or it's just a melted Hershey bar on him? What is it, Miller?
I think he's just red-faced because he's embarrassed that he's such a hack. And by the way, if Snyder's out there watching this, replace the Indian logo with Boehner's face. You can still call them the Redskins. Everybody wins.
Dennis Miller, everybody, give him a hand.